to the Euro 2025 final, where England's Lionesses are into extra time against Spain. And these are the shots of fans watching along. It's currently England 1, Spain 1. Extra time, as I said, and possibly those dreaded penalties to come. On the transfer front, big developments this evening on Luis Diaz's future as Liverpool agree a deal to sell the forward to Bayern Munich. We'll tell you the fee and all the key details. And what could that mean for Alexander Isak? The very latest on his future, including Eddie Howe's thoughts. Only one place to start, though. We will come to the transfers on the transfer show in just a moment, but we are into extra time in Basel. Becky Spencer, 1-1. Who's had the best of it in extra time so far?
So far, Spain have been on top. Vicky Lopez has come on as a second-half sub, and she's been brilliant since she's come on. She's a very tricky young player, and she's come on. She's caused some issues. Lauren
Hemp has just been booked, hasn't she? What did she get booked for just there?
It was a tackle on Bonmati. There's been a few yellow cards since the extra time has happened. I think Alex Greenwood just had another telling off by the referee for another challenge earlier on. I think England now are just getting into the game again. I think they're leaving a couple of tackles on the Spaniards, as we speak. So, I think it's just going to be a bit of a cagey affair up until the second half.
You say cagey. Becky, it's only 6 minutes into extra time, but are we starting to get to that time where both teams are thinking, do not make a mistake that could decide this final?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Spain have just been going at it, and they want to finish this before penalties. That you can see that. Whereas I think England have been out of possession quite a lot of the game, so I feel like they'll be tired and they'll be fatiguing now. So I think it's just a matter of time before they start. They've got to be patient in how they're winning the ball back and winning the ball, high up the field when Spain are playing it out from the back. I think that's the intent that they need to go with.
Now, England's Lionesses, they played their semi-final a day before Spain.
Yeah.
Now this match has gone into extra time. Could that be a factor, the deeper we get into this game?
Possibly, but I'm not so sure, because England have played 3 extra times in this tournament so far. So this is their 3rd extra time going into this, and Spain have only played, this is their 2nd one. So I think they'll both be feeling pretty similar going into this game. And obviously 24 hours difference is a lot, but I wouldn't say so, not now.
OK, so it's 1-1, 97 minutes on the clock. Becky, just shout whenever you hear anything, and we will cut out of anything that we are saying, because this is a massive, massive game. England 1, Spain 1 in the Women's Euros final, 7 minutes into extra time. Some more updates from Becky as the final reaches that dramatic conclusion. But let's get to the day's transfer news. Mark, only one place to start, isn't there? Potential huge sale at Liverpool.
Yes. What a window Liverpool are having at the moment, not just with purchasing players, but generating revenue. And this could be some blockbuster income as well for Arne Slot, which will certainly balance the books, although they have so much room with regards to PSR. But it could be a significant player leaving Anfield. We know that Bayern Munich and Liverpool have agreed a deal for Luis Diaz. It's going to be a €75 million total package, so around £66 million is going to be going into the accounts at Liverpool. That's off the back of days of negotiations. We know that initial offer from Bayern Munich was rejected by Liverpool, which we believe to be around £58.5 million. The message at first was, Luis Diaz is not for sale, thank you very much. However, since they've signed Hugo Ekitike, their stance has obviously relaxed. They felt a lot more comfortable with the business they've done, and they thought, hey, 28 years old, for someone who has 2 years left on his current deal, this feels like the right time. Liverpool will look at this and say, we've got full market value for a player that's going into the latter stages of his career. Obviously, that will get extended because of the Bundesliga. A 28-year-old in the Premier League is like a 26-year-old. He goes over there and he'll have a lot more longevity in the game because of the style of football. But also, I think Liverpool were backed into a little bit of a corner because Luis Diaz had said, I want to explore this opportunity. I feel like I've won everything I possibly can at Liverpool. I love my time there. And now this feels like the right chance. Huge club in Bayern Munich, Bundesliga champions. They always get to the latter stages of the Champions League. And this is a fresh opportunity for me and a fresh chance. So, yeah, one to keep an eye on. He had arrived with that Liverpool squad in Tokyo. He was with the team, but now it's our understanding he'll be travelling to Germany to undertake that medical and put the finishing touches to that deal. But yeah, huge departure for Liverpool, and a player that was really popular with the fans as well.
Mark, you mentioned Liverpool being quite relaxed because Hugo Ekitike has arrived at the club. Just before Hugo Ekitike arrived at the club, there was all sorts of talk, which hasn't stopped, about a certain Alexander Isak. Now, Eddie Howe was speaking to the media, wasn't he, after the game against Arsenal out there in Singapore, and he was asked the question whether Alexander Isak would be making his way to Asia and taking a part in this tour. The answer was no, he will not. He has stayed at home, has Alexander Isak. There is still huge scrutiny over his future. A lot of Newcastle fans might have been quite relaxed when Hugo Ekitike went to Liverpool with regard to Isak's future, but the noise just will not go away, and I guess it is going to intensify now, simply because they are about to sell Luis Diaz, and even though they have got a lot of forward options, Alexander Isak is the name that remains on that list. Liverpool do remain interested. It is a deal that they could yet possibly do. All of the noises coming out of Newcastle is more, we hope Alexander Isak stays. We hope he is part of this future. They do hold all the cards, remember, 3 years left on his contract. However, his head has clearly been turned. We have not heard the last of Isak and potentially going to Liverpool in this window.
Definitely not. No, I agree. I think the thing that Newcastle fans will not want to hear is that Liverpool can still afford to do business. And if you look at their net spend in this summer's window, it's around £150 million because they've sold really well. Since Richard Hughes went into Liverpool, they've sold around £190 million worth of player. That's in just 12 months. So with regards to the finances, Liverpool can still make a deal happen. You look at their current squad, they've got two strikers, Darwin Núñez and Hugo Ekitike. Now, there's a lot of noise and speculation about Darwin Núñez potentially leaving Anfield this summer. So Liverpool are not going to want to go into the season with just one striker in Hugo Ekitike. They're going to want at least two strikers. Hugo Ekitike offers versatility. He can play as a number 9 on his own, or key, he could play with someone else, play with a strike partner. And that's where maybe Alexander Isak would come into play. Liverpool are remaining tight-lipped and very quiet on the scenario. They're comfortable with the squad they have. They're happy with the business they've done. But clearly, they're in the market to sign the very best players in world football, of which Alexander Isak is one.
Mark, when we were talking about Hugo Ekitike earlier on in this transfer window, we pinpointed 3 scenarios, if you like, for Newcastle United. The best case scenario is no longer going to happen because it was Hugo Ekitike to play alongside Alexander Isak. Yeah. Ekitike is now a Liverpool player. I guess scenario number 2, which Newcastle United fans will probably have accepted, OK, Ekitike is not coming, but we're keeping our prized asset in Alexander Isak. The nightmare scenario, Hugo Ekitike doesn't join, which he hasn't, and Alexander Isak still leaves. Now, that is still a possibility, as much as Newcastle United fans will not want to hear it. And if you speak to Eddie Howe, he has actually said, we are not going to bury our heads in the sand. We know, we're realistic. We know what's going on at a football club because this is what happens in football. Alexander Isak is in that position where his head has been turned, even though he's got 3 years left on his contract. So whether Newcastle United like it or not, they are going to have to think about life after Alexander Isak if, and it's a big if, he was to go. Benjamin Sesko is one that they have explored the conditions of with RB Leipzig. And the other one, which is turning into a saga now, Yoane Wissa. What's happening there?
Yeah, so we've had some more developments on this scenario as well, because Newcastle fans, we're trying to be positive, we're trying to give you some information and bring your weekend to life, because it probably feels like a long 2 weeks or so with very little happening in the words of positivity. Brentford are in the same stance, not for sale. However, the Brentford striker is hoping that Newcastle haven't given up hope over doing a potential deal. We know that Newcastle are big fans of Yoane Wissa and they like him and they admire him. They had an offer rejected for him and there was discussions about a second possible offer. However, Newcastle are currently assessing their options at the moment. As far as Wissa's concerned, you know, he's not looking at this with rose-tinted glasses. He understands the situation as much as it's frustrating him. You have to remember, Dharmesh, that in January, Nottingham Forest had an offer rejected and Newcastle had an offer rejected last week. So there are teams out there in the Premier League that are desperate to sign him. However, this is no easy deal to make happen. And that, of course, is very frustrating for the player.
You mentioned Yoane Wissa and how realistic he is. We mentioned Alexander Isak potentially getting his head turned. It's clear Yoane Wissa's head has been turned as well, because as it stands, it's our understanding that he doesn't intend to train again with Brentford, to play again for Brentford. Their head coach, Keith Andrews, when he was speaking out in Portugal, remember, Wissa returned to the UK from Portugal, that pre-season training camp. He says he expects Wissa to return to the group this week. We think they return on Tuesday, with the players actually reporting back to UK training on Thursday. So he came back to discuss his future. It is still clearly up in the air. He's got a year left on his contract. Brentford significantly hold the option to extend that for a further year. He wants to join Newcastle, as you mentioned. He feels this is it for him. 28 years old, 29 in September. Champions League football, he might not get this opportunity again. So I just don't think we've heard the last on this. Even though Brentford insists he is not for sale, Yoane Wissa has made it clear to them, we think, that he does want to go. So plenty happening in and around Liverpool and Newcastle United. Let's see who starts the season for both clubs. OK, we'll have more transfer news after the break when we have Sky Andrew joining us, the top sports agent. He'll be joining us on set. But let's just get an update from Becky Spencer, who is watching the Euro Women's Final out there in Basel. Becky, coming up to the end of the first period of extra time, who's had the better of it?
You know, England started to get a lot of the momentum. It's been on England's side. Obviously, Spain have got a chance now. Oh, God, Badier just ran down the right-hand side, pulled the ball back. Parallelo couldn't get on the end of it, and it just ran through all the bodies. But apart from that, England have been in charge this half. They started to. Yeah, no. So they've started to get a little bit of momentum in this half of extra time. There's a bit of worrying scenes for Lucy Bronze, who went down. Niamh Charles looked like she was going to come on, but as Lucy does, she just gets up and gets on with it. So she came off and then she's come back on again. So Niamh Charles has sat back down, but I think, you know, players are starting to feel it now. And she's played so many minutes during this tournament, so hopefully she can continue.
Becky Spencer is kicking every ball, saving every ball in this final, and she'll keep us updated on the Women's Euros final. And as I mentioned after the break, we will be joined by Super Sport agent Sky Andrew to discuss all things transfers. But these are live shots of England fans watching on nervously as the first period of extra time is now over. It is England 1, Spain 1. 15 minutes for one of these teams to win it, or we do have that dreaded penalty shootout. Hi there, welcome back to the Transfer Show. We've got a packed studio now, haven't we? Becky Spencer's watching the Women's Euros final. Mark McAdam is doing what he does best. And we are joined by the top sports agent, Sky Andrew. Sky, we're going to come to you in just a moment, but let's start with you, Becky, because the second period of extra time is underway between England and Spain. A bit of a blow for England going into the second period, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you know, the first half of extra time, Lucy Bronze went down. She looked uncomfortable when she went down, and, you know, you'd have to kind of drag her off the pitch for her to get off of there. So, you know, that something must be really wrong. And if, and it's a big if still, this is to go to penalties, that would be a really big blow not having Lucy there, wouldn't it? Yeah, but I mean, that's what the squad's used. You know, you've got to utilise your squad, and that's what the squad's for. I think, you know, just having her leadership and her presence is a massive blow for England. But at the same time, Niamh Charles is a fantastic player, also plays for Chelsea. So, you know, I've got more confidence in Niamh coming on and doing a great job. OK, we're going to talk transfers for a bit, Becky, but anytime you want to jump in, you just shout. Yeah, I will do it. Fantastic. OK, so let's look at some of the big talking points
in this transfer window. Sky, one that is emerging is Alexander Isak. The Newcastle United boss, Eddie Howe, spoke to the media after today's defeat to Arsenal and was asked if Isak would be flying out at all for the tour. This was his response.
It's business as usual for the players. You know, you don't get a chance when you come onto these tours to think of anything other than training, the next game. The level's so high that even in these games, we have to be very well prepared. We have to try and be at our best. So naturally, I think we're going to miss a player of Alex's quality, and the group are going to feel that. There's no denying that, and I can't sit here and claim that they won't. But they're a very professional group of players, and they're doing brilliant as far as I can see in terms of managing the situation. Well, I think every player in our squad has to be ready to play. That would be my message to every single man in the squad. We don't have the biggest squad in the Premier League, so every person has to contribute, and I'd have no hesitation in picking anybody. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're not deluded. We know that we need to bring players in. We've known that for a long time. The tail end of last season, as I said, we did all the work. We know who we wanted. It's been a challenging transfer window. Let's see what we can do towards the end of it.
So those are thoughts of Eddie Howe, Sky. Does it feel inevitable that Alexander Isak won't be a Newcastle United player come the end of this window?
We're going to look at the situation and say, who's desperate for him? You know, people are talking about him going to Liverpool, and then Liverpool made a big sign-in. So this all goes back to a player's contract and how a player's contract is structured. So agents have got to structure players' contracts so that they don't find themselves in a position where they can't move if they want to move, or they can't have a say in their own life, in their own career. I mean, the player's still got 3 years left. He hasn't got a buyout clause. I mean, for me, you know, if strikers are so highly sought after that you've got to structure players' contracts so that they've got 2 years left or they've got 1 year left and then they can have a say. But 3 years left, it's not easy for him to leave. And why should Newcastle put themselves in a situation where they don't have a top-line striker in their squad? The people are talking about other players coming in, but what clubs normally do is they'll bring a player in so that it looks like they've overloaded with players, but then they're already behind the scenes doing a deal for a player to go out. I just can't see that deal happening easily.
No.
Yeah, and the player's got 3 years left. Maybe if it was 2 years, he could say, I'm not signing a new contract. But for Newcastle, remember, it's a massive club with big support. I don't see who's desperate for him, and I don't see why Newcastle should be desperate to sell him.
Sky, his head has clearly been turned, though, with Liverpool's interest. Just put yourself in the position of Alexander Isak's agent. Just give us an insight into it. What would your advice to be to him at this stage?
First and foremost, the reason why agents get players to sign long-term deals is because commission. Obviously, if a player signs a 5-year deal, you get 5 or 10% of that 5-year deal. Now, this situation is very difficult because in the first instance, whenever I'm representing a player, you have to have foresight. You've got hindsight, foresight. And the foresight is what happens in a year, 2 years? What happens if you blow up? You've got to have those conversations at the stage of the marriage. You've got to negotiate the divorce when you're negotiating the marriage. So when we get to a situation after a year, 2 years, and a player does blow up, then the player has a say. You've got to speculate. I mean, too many deals are being done where players are just signing contracts, long-term contracts. There's no structure in the contract, there's no buyout clause, and there's no divorce clause. So then what happens is the player starts to get frustrated, and that's why sometimes players look bad, is because they realise, I've got to make this move now, because football's all about timing. You're not always sought after. Demand and supply. I mean, there's a massive demand for someone like Isak, the type of player is. But at this moment in time, how many clubs have got 100, 120, 130, 150 million? People are talking about Liverpool, yeah. Possibly, but then, yeah, and Taken's going to be on the bench. It's
No, carry on, sorry.
no, go on, Mark.
No, so I was going to say, because you're an agent and you've been in these situations where you've got big profile players that want to engineer that potential move. And they're saying to you, what do we do? How do we get out? And as an agent, you've got to try and give them the best advice possible. Now, Alexander Isak has gone to the Newcastle hierarchy and said, I would like to explore my options. I would like to see what else is out there. Please, will you allow me to have these conversations?
Yeah.
But that is almost a last resort, isn't it? Pushing that button to say, I want to leave.
Yeah.
How difficult is that?
But who is his agent? Does anybody know? Do you know Darmish?
No.
Do you know Mark?
No, I don't know him personally.
Yeah, but you kind of know. So then all of a sudden, the player looks bad. In my eyes, when you're representing players, the player should be the last person that looks bad. You have to protect the player with the way in which you negotiate the contract. And you have to speculate. I mean, he was a good player. He was in Germany, then he went Spain. And now all of a sudden, if someone had speculated that he was going to blow up now, it'd be a completely different situation. But there's no buyout clause. You know, when he came to the club, I know we're going to come on to Morgan Gibbs-White. When he came to the club...
Sky, just hold that thought because we've got to take a quick break and we'll be continuing this chat straight after. These are live shots from Box Park, Croydon. The nerves are jangling. 1-1. Approaching penalties.
They all look exhausted. There's been another casualty in Georgia Stanway, who's had another great tournament, but she just run out of steam. So she's been replaced by Grace Clinton, which offers something a little bit different. But at the moment, we're literally just hanging on.
Hanging on. We are a few seconds plus stoppage time in extra time from penalties. Becky, back to you shortly. OK, let's get to some more of the transfer stories dominating this window. Sky Andrew, the sports agent, is still with us. We were talking about one saga in Alexander Isak before the break. Let's go to another one, shall we? His name's Morgan Gibbs-White. Everything was agreed with Tottenham Hotspur. Nottingham Forest then complained because the confidential release clause, in inverted commas, ended up being, shall we say, not so confidential. Have you ever heard of a scenario like this one?
Well, what we have in football is that sometimes you're lucky enough to get a buyout clause. So let's give Forest credit for bringing Morgan Gibbs-White in. But for me, Morgan Gibbs-White is not a £60 million player. He's a £100 million player. So Marinakis realised that he was going to have to lose this battle, and he decided, you know what, I'm not going to lose this battle. I'm going to get the player in, I'm going to get his agent in, and I'm going to say to them, here's a new contract, but we're taking out the release clause. That's the scenario that makes sense for Forest, is to say we don't want a scenario again where a club finds out a release clause, then comes in and bids exactly the amount of what the release clause in. So Forest and Marinakis have won this battle. The player has obviously decided that he's better off staying at the club after Marinakis has locked him in the room and had a chat with him. Right? And old Marinakis, I don't think a lot of players would like to be locked in a room with him because this guy looks serious. But it was a challenge. It was a challenge to the credibility of the club. Forest couldn't afford to let Morgan Gibbs-White go. If Morgan Gibbs-White goes after Elanga and then we're a Forest, then they become a selling club. And the history of football says any club that keeps selling their best players, they end up in trouble. So they've made a stance, they've kept the player, and they've given the player a king's ransom to stay.
If you were representing Morgan Gibbs-White, what would you have perhaps done differently in this scenario?
Well, him and his agent did the right thing in getting a buyout clause. It was a mistake, in my view, to give a player of his quality a buyout clause. But once you've got a situation where you've got to pick a side, agents will pick a side. So who gets to know about the buyout clause? Normally it's the agents that will say, here's the information. So his agent had to pick a side. He had to pick a club that wanted him or to stay at Forest. Well, what's happened is the information's got out to a club's come in and said, we want him. And then let's say that Marinakis has sat down with the player and the agent and done a deal. But for me, I don't think it's a terrible move for Morgan Gibbs White to stay at Forest. If you look at the season they had last season, not many clubs did better than them. So it's not a bad scenario. So if I was in the shoes of the agent, staying at the club isn't a bad move. And obviously, I'd go and buy my villa in the south of France.
Let's talk very quickly, Sky, on Yoann Wissa. This one feels like it's gone even further than the Isak saga, if you like. How do you feel, from what you've seen from the outside, how the agents handled this one?
Well, it's difficult to... Again, we go back to why hasn't the player got a buyout clause? And how was the player's contract structured for the player to be in this position? Because now he's starting to look bad. And then it's very easy to put rumours out and say he's not coming to training, or he's not doing this, or he's not doing that. And then I hate to see players looking bad, because you have to say to a player, you honour your contract, and if someone comes and offers you something better, then you look at it. But it's not looking good for him. Partly because he's in his late 20s, and he's looking at a move now. This is my last big move. There's something about hitting 30, but clubs go, oh, I don't know. We're not going to give you a 3-4 year contract when you hit 30. So he's edging towards that mark, and he wants his big move now.
OK. Sky, sorry to rush you again. It is going to go to penalties in the women's. It is going to Euros final. It's finished at extra time. Becky Spencer is standing by to bring us all the details on that penalty shootout, which is about to get underway. These are pictures from Box Park in Croydon. They don't look that nervous. Let me tell you, they're probably hiding it. A little bit more nervy in Madrid, by the looks of it. Penalties next with Becky Spencer. Stay with us.
It came, she went to the keeper's right, and Catacol made an excellent save.
OK, so now we've got Spain's...
She almost got it.
Chiaro, and that is straight down the middle there, Becky.
Yeah.
She almost got it with her feet.
So that is now Spain with the advantage in this penalty shootout. I mean, what must be going through Beth Mead's mind here? She's waiting by the centre circle now. So who's stepping up now? Becky, centre circle. They need to get this one in now, don't they?
Yeah, this is Alex Greenwood stepping up. She's a left footer. I faced her penalties before, and she usually goes to the keeper's left, but she may shock us all with this one here. But yeah, she's a left footer, so we'll see what she does.
So it's Alex Greenwood against Catalina Cole. She's already saved one. Becky, take it away.
Straight run up. Yep, keeper's left. Lovely penalty. Keeper couldn't get near it.
OK, so it is now England 1, Spain 1 in this penalty shootout, but it is Spain who have the advantage because Beth Mead twice taken penalty. She scored with the first one. It was a double hit. It had to be retaken, and Catalina Cole, has to be said, made an absolutely fantastic save. Becky, you can give us an insight into the woman in England's goal here.
Yeah. I mean,
Hannah Hampton, is she good? She is good, isn't she?
She's fantastic at saving penalties, and you can see she's done all of her research.
OK, who's she facing here?
This is Caldente. Yep, there she goes.
You called it. You called it, Becky Spencer. You said she was good at penalties. She'll have done her homework on her.
Yep. And I've seen that she's had, she's got the list on her arm this time and not her bottle, so I know that she knows that she's done her homework, and it's another good save. I think it was quite a comfortable height for Hannah. So if you're going to go the right way, then you're going to make the save. But like I said, she would have done her homework, and that's another great save to keep England in there.
So now, 2 penalties taken each. England have scored 1, Spain have scored 1. 1 each has now been saved. Here we go now with...
It's Niamh Charles.
Niamh Charles, who
yeah,
came
one of
on...
my Chelsea to Niamh Charles. For Lucy Bronze.
Here we go.
Oh, lovely, lovely. She's gone the opposite way to Catacol. She's gone down the right-hand side. Lovely penalty. Catacol was already... She anticipated where she was going.
Fantastic. So this drama is building. England, of course, I think they won the toss in this penalty shootout, didn't they? It is in front of the England fans, if I'm not mistaken. So for the first time, England lead in this penalty shootout. Up steps
the world's best player, Bon Mati. Expected her to put it away, but I'm not holding anything against Hannah because I feel like she can still save it.
Right, here we go. Which way is she going to go, Becky?
Keeper's right, maybe? Yes!
Incredible.
Save. Honestly, I'm so proud of Hannah. Like, she's coming in with a lot of pressure. Now she's stepping up to the plate, keeping England in this penalty shootout, and hopefully she can be the hero.
She is doing more than that, and these are the jubilant scenes at the moment at Box Park in Croydon. Those fans, I told you just before the break, they looked really, really calm. And it looks like for good reason, because now it is advantage England's Lionesses in a big, big way. 3 penalties taken apiece. England now lead by 2 penalties to 1. Enter the captain.
Yep, Leah Willison steps up. Come on, Leah. Oh, she's delaying a little bit. Gone down the keeper's right. Catacole's made a great save. But yeah, it's just... Yeah, it's a fantastic save. It's a strong hand.
Isn't it?
Real strong
I mean,
hand.
both England and Sweden in that quarter-final penalty shootout, they come under huge criticism for the quality of that shootout. I don't think you can say the same here, because the saves have been absolutely top draw, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. And it just shows you how far the women's goalkeeping is going. And these two are the world's best.
Okay.
And they've had great tournaments.
Massive moment now. Spain's 4th penalty. Who have we got?
We've got Paralelo. She's stepping up. Left footer. She came on in the second half. Yes.
My goodness.
Missed it.
She's missed it. She's gone to the keeper's left, and she's swung it wide.
Right, it is now. These are the live pictures from Box Park in Croydon. England are on the verge of back-to-back Euro wins. Chloe Kelly scored the winning goal in the European Championship final against Germany 3 years ago. If England score this penalty, they will be European champions again. Who's taking this one, Becky?
It's Chloe Kelly. Who else would it be? It's the 5th penalty. Chloe Kelly, she'll be back full of confidence. She scored, she scored the winner at Wembley, Euro 2022. I feel like the name's written on the stars. She's going to make history with this penalty.
She's a big QPR fan. She said there's a Bobby Zamora moment coming. Last minute winning the playoff final. Here she comes.
Here she goes.
Becky, away you go.
Same started run up. Yes!
Yes!
Absolutely incredible.
What a penalty.
Chloe Kelly has done it again. These are live pictures from Box Park in Croydon. Fans absolutely jubilant. That is because England's Lionesses are European champions again. They have successfully defended their trophy. They have won the penalty shootout by 3 penalties to 1 after a 1-1 draw after extra time. Becky, just put into context how big an achievement this is for Sarina Wiegman and this England team.
Yeah, no, it is massive. Like I said, it's their 3rd consecutive final, and 2 in a row. I don't think anyone else has done that, recently. And I feel like it's such a massive achievement. Just shows you how far England football has come.
This is now Sarina Wiegman's 5th consecutive final. 2 as Netherlands boss, 3 as England. It was 2-2.
Yes.
She has now got a winning record in these finals. As you just put into context and put into words the job that this woman has done.
Oh yeah, she's been phenomenal. She's come in, she's shown exactly what she's made of. And she's led this England team, to winning two European champions. Like they've won 2 in a row, and that's something that's unheard of.
We've gone through this tournament, and the criticism that has been aimed at England's Lionesses is that they haven't quite performed, but they've just always managed to find a way. Did we see the best of the Lionesses tonight in this game, do you think?
I wouldn't say we saw the best of the Lionesses tonight. I mean, they had it was a great game. The momentum swung from, in Spain's favour back to England's favour. But at the end of the day, they've always found a way to win. And I think from previous games, seeing how they've kind of gotten through games, you kind of know that it was kind of written in the stars for them to win this game tonight.
There was so much talk before the tournament about the big names that weren't there, the big decisions that Sarina Wiegman made. Mary Earps not going, and Fran Kirby not being involved, Millie Bright not there, and there was a lack of experience from outside.
Yes.
But that's certainly not been a factor, has it?
No, and this is what I mean. I'm so proud of Hannah. You know, she's my teammate at Chelsea, and she was under a lot of pressure coming into it. Everyone was talking about Mary's retirement, and you know, she had a lot on her shoulders, but she's performed so well out in this tournament, and she's shown exactly why she is England's number one. And you know, everyone else that's had to replace other players that haven't been able to go. Obviously, Millie Bright was a big miss for England, but still they've managed to find a way.
It's a question for both of you, Sky in just a moment, but Becky, just generally, these last 4 or 5 years under Sarina Wiegman, when they've reached these 3 consecutive finals, what has this team, what has this manager done for women's football in this country?
Oh, she's done so much. I think, you know, she's just shown the players, they all trust her. I feel like they've all got a lot of confidence in Sarina, and you can see that. And you can see it with how they're playing. And even when they're losing and they're getting, you know, towards the end of games and you're thinking, oh God, they're going to lose this one, they're still coming back. So she's built like a mentality into this England team. They're resilient, they know how to win, and this just proves it.
Sky, these players now are household names. They're marketability-wise. Agents like yourself will probably like, oh, hello. They are big business now, aren't they?
Yeah, the commercial values have gone up over the past 3, 4, 5 years. And now the figures, the viewing figures are huge. They're playing in front of big crowds. So obviously, the repercussions of all of this is that the girls will get big commercial deals, or they should get big commercial deals. And their commercial value is going up all the time.
Just, Becky, just put into context as well how big a result this is because of the opposition that England had in this final. And in particular, they would have had in the back of their mind that World Cup final when they were beaten by Spain.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were saying that England were underdogs coming into this game. But, you know, before the game, I said, no, I feel like it's pretty even. We know that Spain play amazing football and they possess the ball very well. But England have shown a different side to their game where they might not be playing very well, but they're still getting the win. And they've shown great character, and it's just the mentality and the resilience. Spain didn't have that today, by the looks of it. They literally, you know, they had the ball quite a lot, they had some half chances, but it just shows you that character goes a long way.
Becky, there are so many heroes in this England team. We've been speaking about Misha Ajimang in the previous rounds, Chloe Kelly, of course, in the previous rounds, and scoring the winning penalty. The winning moment again belongs to Chloe Kelly, but I want to speak to you about your teammate, Hannah Hampton, and the pressure she would have been under, particularly going into this tournament, the likes of Mary Earp saying, actually, no, it's over for me and England. How much added pressure would that have put on her? And did you speak to her about it? What did she say to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Hannah and I've spoken to her, you know, throughout the tournament, and, you know, she's very humble as ever. She's just like, thank you, you know, you say good luck. She's like, thank you very much, and then she moves on. She doesn't get too high with the highs and she doesn't get too low with the lows. And I think she's taken this within her stride. And we forget that she's very young still. So she could have another 10, 15 years as England's number one. And people forget that. It was a lot of pressure. And then, you know, a lot of the media weren't helping her case. They weren't helping. She was like fans. She was always complaining. She was like, the fans don't even want me in the goal. So I'm glad that she's proved everyone wrong, and I'm glad that she's had a fantastic tournament.
There was a crucial moment because Beth Mead missed that first penalty, and the advantage went to Spain. And it was Hannah Hampton that stepped up to make those crucial saves in that spot kick. And that transformed the pendulum towards England, didn't it? That was how big that moment was.
Yeah, it was similar to how Lucy Bronze took one of the penalties in the last round, where she hammered it home and then everyone got that lift again. This went from Beth Mead missing the first penalty to then Hannah saving the next one, and it really does swing the momentum round back in your favour. And Hannah stepped up today. Like I said, she's only a young goalkeeper, but she looks like a seasoned pro that's been playing and playing for a long time at this level.
Question again to both of you. So many eyeballs on this match. So many eyeballs on the Lionesses now. And I'm guessing the popularity of the WSL, I mean, that is just going to get such a major boost now, isn't it, Sky?
Well, they're winners, and brands like to associate themselves with winners. I mean, the mentality of this England women's team is incredible. It's a fine line between winning and losing, but the girls are winning penalty shootouts. They're coming back from 2-0 down. now they deserve to get the recognition that other sports get. So now it's going to be a great time for women's football. It's going to be a great time for the public to really get behind them and support them. Because at the end of the day, people talk about commercial values and they talk about the men's game and the audiences and the value that the men bring. Well, you know, the girls are bringing some value as well. They're champions.
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, you will be able to testify the impact that 2 years ago had on the nation and young girls in this country.
Yeah.
Will once again, this performance, this result on the biggest stage show that the game is in a healthy place. The new WSL season around the corner, more eyes on the game, and again, it takes another huge step forward.
Yeah. No, it's actually exciting. I mean, after the last Euros, you know, it wasn't just young girls, it was young boys as well that were, you know, happy to watch the Lionesses play. We've had a lot more stadium bums in seats in the WSL games as well. You know, we're filling out, you know, the big stadiums, you know, your Stamford Bridges, your Emirates, you know, we're starting to get that kind of feel around it now. And I think this is just going to push us even further.
It's absolutely sensational that these seats at Box Park in Croydon will be echoed, I guess, all around the country, because England's Lionesses have done what many people thought was improbable going into this tournament, given all of the drama that was going on, particularly with their squad. But they are European champions once again. Becky, just a final word before we go. If you were to just assess this tournament for the England Lionesses and the impact it could have, what would it be?
I think it's just momentum. I think they've carried on the momentum, like they've had responsibility to do that, as you know, the Lionesses has a big part to play, and that's just momentum, and that's what we're building in the women's game at the moment. So they've just created even more, and no one can turn their back on us now.
Becky, take a deep breath. You thought 90 minutes and I'm going home.
Yeah.
You knew better. The England Lionesses